All right, so this is the third page on our Doing Math and Science class assignment. So the end of the last page said when you read measurements taken by somebody else, you have to assume they wrote their values. They measured to the correct amount of decimal places. So that's why when we're in lab, I insist you record to the correct amount of decimal places. Because if somebody else is reading your measurements, they need to know how accurately you measured. And that's how you let them know, is by writing your answer out to the correct amount of decimal digits. So it says, 4 people are pulling on a tug of war. The total force they will be pulling is 24.7 newtons. What is the average force each person is pulling? So what you need to do is decide if it's the total force is 24.7, what is each of the 4 people pulling? So you're going to have to divide that by 4. So I'm going to take 24.7 divided by 4, and I get 6.125, or excuse me, 175. Get 6.175. All right, so clearly my measuring instrument measured to the 10th of a newton, because that's what the person recorded. And we have to take it by their face value that they measured to the 10th of a newton. So my answer needs to be to the 10th of a newton. This 1 right here is in the 10th place. So I'm going to look at the next number, the 7, to determine how to round that 1. Well, the 7 would make the 1 go up to a 2, so the final answer is 6.2 newtons. It says first you have to assume that the measuring instrument used to measure the force went to the 10th of a newton. So you record the answer to the 10th of a newton. It says the answer is 6.1, but it really would be 6.2. Sorry about that. As you round to the 10th place. All right, sig fig rules. Now this is how you do this, if like the quick way, how you decide what to round to the quick way. Anyway, it says round to the least number of decimal digits in the measurements. So if you look at these, both of these have 1 decimal place. So the least number of decimal places is 1, so you'd round to 1. This one doesn't have any decimal places. This one isn't even a measurement. We know that because it doesn't have a unit on it. So since it's not a measurement, it doesn't count. But this one doesn't have any decimal places, so you'd round to no decimal places. This one has 2 decimal places. This one's not even a measurement. Again, we know that because it's not, it doesn't have a unit. So we're going to round to 2 decimal places. So if I get my handy dandy calculator out and I start doing these problems, I got 26.8 times 6.2. I get an answer of 166.16. But since I have 1 decimal place and 1 decimal place, the least number of decimal places is 1. So I got to round to the 1 decimal place. The 6 makes the 1 go up. So my final answer would be 166.2. So the next one, I got 50 divided by 3. I get an answer of 16.666 repeating. There are no decimal places in 50. 3 doesn't count because it's not a measurement. So 50 doesn't have any decimal places, so I have to round it to the 1's place. This 6 is in the 1's place. This 6 makes this 6 go up to 17. So my final answer would be 17 on that one. Again, because there are no decimal places in a measurement in the problem. So the next one, number 3, 22.89 times 5. I get an answer of 114.45. This number has 2 decimal places. This number doesn't count because it's not a measurement. And again, we know that because it doesn't have a unit on it. It's not pounds or inches or anything like that. It's not a measurement, so it doesn't count. So our least number of decimal places in the problem is 2, so I need to leave it just like it is with a meter on the end because it already has 2 decimal places. Move this over a little bit. The next one is 1.8 miles divided by 40 gallons. So the answer I get is 0.045. Now, this one has 1 decimal place, and this one has no decimal places, but it is a measurement because it's got gallons on it. So I have to round it to the whole number. The problem is we don't even have a whole number, but we do kind of. If we wrote it, there'd be a 0 in there. Some of your math teachers require that 0. So what we generally do in this case, I don't want to round it off to nothing, because really the 0 makes the 0 stay the same, and the answer is not 0. What we do is we round to the first non-zero digit. So the first non-zero digit is this 4. The 5 makes the 4 go up, so it would actually be 0.05 miles per gallon would be your final number again, because you don't, if this 0 would make this 0 make the answer 0, but it's not 0. So that's how you do that one. The next part is order of operations. Most of you have already done this part. It's the order in which you do math. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and I always, remembering this was never a problem, because I actually do have an Aunt Sally. PEMDAS. Parentheses is done first. Exponents, squares, or cubes for my class. We don't really have any other exponents in here. My, multiply, dear, divide, Aunt, add, Sally, subtract. And you, if everything left in the problem is multiply and divide, you can just do it left to right. And if everything left in the problem is add or subtract, you can do those left or right. So what we're going to show you is that it does make a difference. It does make a difference. Because like on this problem, 36 times 0 is 0. And you always do what's in parentheses first, according to please. Then you're going to take 0 times 2. You get 0 times 2. You still get 0. If you did it another way, you might get a different answer. I'll show you that right here. This one, 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 times 8 is, let's see, 12 times 8. 96. 12 times 8 is 96. If you look at this one, oh, wait a minute, I did that one wrong. Sorry. Did that one wrong. You have to do times first. Sorry, I was thinking it was times and plus. And you have to do the times first. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 plus 7 is 47. Since you do multiply before add. Sorry, I got my symbols confused. But if you do it this way, the parentheses tell you to do what's in parentheses first. So then you'd get the 12 times 8 is 96. So you can see the order, which is the same problem if you look. The order makes a difference. So it's important you follow order of operations. And we'll go on to the next page.